I know one of the major brands, hopefully I can say it, that you work with is Wyndham Hotels, right? And they're in the hospitality space. They're also, in timeshares and a variety of other things and things of that nature. And I can just imagine the things that go well and don't go well when people want to have vacations and have time off. So can you kind of walk us through from maybe that viewpoint, whether it's theirs or another similar story from the contact center side of it, the human connection of those difficult conversations? How was the technology, the game changer in this space for that interaction? Any examples of what's happening in that space?
Well, absolutely. And, and your question, I'd say you're absolutely correct about the need to support. Like one of the things that we have, Cogito has, is we have lots of insights because we have this technology. Like one of the things that you might be interested in is if you, and we know this because we have all the measures, if an agent has a bad call, they have a bad experience, a challenging experience, this is just general, this is like human nature. Their subsequent interactions with the next customers will be affected, will be detrimentally affected. So that the importer is really so critical to support the agent. And the other thing that's really critical is that there is a trend for lots of different reasons towards agents taking more and more complex calls. Part of it is that part's an industry trend where there's a sort of a drive to have generalist groups of agents rather than specialist groups of agents, where they're taking lots of different types and then have the technology support them to handle those types. That's like one thing. The other one is the rise of self-service, because self-service, in principle, will take the edge off some of the simpler interactions. So that means the average interaction that's going to an agent is just more complex. So this becomes a real challenge. So then you sort of say, well, how does the technology support this, right? So one is it's going to support the management structure around the agent, which is, you can come back to that original concept, right? So you can measure experience, you can measure employee experience, you can support people when they're in challenging times, you can intervene in real time or intervene, just after calls, you can do all that type of thing. You have coaching, you have an objective measurement rather than sort of subjective. I didn't think you did well. Well, okay, how am I going to reply to that, right? Like, you can, really, so that's good, much more support of that atmosphere within which the agents operate. The other thing is real-time guidance. And real-time guidance, which is really while you're speaking guidance, is something that Cogito was one of the very, very early pioneers. And one of the reasons we're one of the early pioneers is that we were able to do this before kind of the recent advances in speech recognition, which, we think of that in the last few years, you can do real-time speech recognition. When we got going on real-time guidance, you couldn't really do that. So we were able to get real-time guidance going quite a long time before others have got into the space. And one of the things about real-time guidance is it can, done well, it does two fundamental things. First, it will improve workflow, right? And that's kind of the use case that most people know about. And that use case is I can help agents with what they should be saying. I can help, maybe create some guardrails that might be important from a compliance perspective. I can, identify some different parts of the workflow that they need to be aware of to make sure they move through the call efficiently and effectively. That's one piece. But the other thing that real-time guidance can do, and few companies can do this, I'm pleased to say that Cogito is one of the ones that can support it, is improve relationship. And relationship is critical because when you have these interactions, they're going to be very important. They're ever more important. They're going to be moments of truth for the customer. So you want them to go well. And customers, the way they work, and I'm happy to go into more details on this, they pick up on very subtle things about how they're being spoken to. And if they feel they're not being spoken to in the right way, they're going to immediately react negatively. They may not say that, but they will react negatively because they're coming in a high stress situation themselves. And so it's just really critical. And an agent's doing 30, 40 calls a day sometimes. So it's not easy for them, right? So how do you kind of scale the system where your agents are supported to be continuously charming, which takes the stress off them, as well as like move efficiently through the workflow? And that's the challenge of real-time guidance.